You are listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after productivity coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives entrepreneurs the straight talk on personal productivity. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to Productivity Straight Talk. Today's episode is 96. What it takes to run a well-oiled machine with Chanie Wilschanski. If you are an entrepreneur who wants actionable solutions to maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. I'm really looking forward to bringing this special interview with my friend and our guest, Chanie. Chanie began her journey over a decade ago teaching toddlers at an acclaimed preschool of arts in New York City. She continued her path into higher studies and received her master's in early childhood development and special education. She started training teachers and school leaders on the how part of creating excellence in their school. Chanie is married with 4 children, ages 1, 4, 6, and 8. Boy, are her hands full. She knows what it takes to lead a successful business and have a full-time job at home. When listening in on my conversation with Chanie, you will discover best practices for integrating your business and personal life, what to aim for in your work, hint, it's not perfection, where to find the biggest catalyst for your growth, what you must be keenly aware of when hiring out, what you seriously need to load up on daily, and so much more. So let's dive right in and meet Chanie. This episode of Productivity Straight Talk is brought to you by my very own signature coaching and training program, Stop, the Entrepreneur's Success Solution. If you are ready to stop struggling in your business and start succeeding, head on over to theproductivityspecialist.com/stop to find out more. Again, that's theproductivityspecialist.com/stop, STOP. Welcome to Productivity Straight Talk, Chanie. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Amber. I'm really excited to be here.
I feel like this might be a long time in the making, but our friendship is only like 7 or 8 months old. Like we keep counting, thinking, how is this possible? We have become the fastest friends I honestly cannot believe it's only been that long. But I want my listeners to get to know you because while I had the great fortune of meeting you through our mutual business coach, I just thought this lady has something to share with my listeners and my audience. And so thank you so much for agreeing to be on today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so tell our listeners a bit about yourself, your business, who you have supporting you in your business, and who you have at home.
Sure. So from a little bit origin story, I'm a suburban girl from Jersey. I grew up with 8 brothers and sisters, and I am the third in line, the oldest girl. So that's just a little bit about the type of family that I grew up in. My dad is a rabbi, runs a congregation where I grew up. And so now I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm a mom of 4 kids. I got 2 boys and 2 girls. My youngest is 15 months and my oldest is 8. So we definitely have a young group of kids. That's our little bunch. So that's just a little bit about me personally. In our business is just coming on 3 years old right now. And we've been able to actually 6x our business since we started, which is just unbelievable when you think about what growth actually looks like. And now we have a team of 3 people that work with me. It's an international team. My team is from all over the world. And the systems and processes that we've put in place has really enabled me to make sure that I only work 25 hours a week because my kids are always going to be front and center in my life.
Yes. Okay, so here's how I first met Chanie. I was in a workshop with our mutual business coach, Todd Herman, and she was on the far side of the room, and there was a lot of us there. I would say there was maybe like 40. Just to give some perspective.
Yeah.
And there was a lady with a baby in the back of the room pushing the stroller, And then you'd leave and you would nurse and you'd come back and you would be talking with your baby in your arms and you were like just knocking it out of the park. And I was like, whoa, that girl, okay, her and I have this connection. Well, this was the first meeting where I didn't know who was in our cohort. So like, I didn't know that there was 3 of us in our group and I didn't know it was you until somebody said something. And I was like, oh, yes, okay, that works for me. I could tell she's clearly up to something. And then we had to do this exercise where we gave a presentation and there was 3 of us and maybe Davey would listen to this and attest to this. Like, I swear we were skipping every 5th word and had this shorthand talk between the 2 of us.
That's crazy. We were finishing each other's sentences before I knew her last name.
Exactly. And so that's just to give you like an insight into who I'm talking to, is that I met this lady that was not letting having a little baby stand in her way. And she was being a mom and she was being a businesswoman and she was just on it. And then over this time, I've gotten to know her and really see the results and the business that she's up to and the things that she's doing. And I thought, well, how is she doing this? Because I heard and I'm hearing when I talk to her, like, she's not working 60 hours, 80 hours. In fact, she's not even working 40 hours. She's working 25 hours. And to only have been in business for 3 years and have that kind of clarity going into her business and building her team so young, you've got to know she's got some wisdom to share with us today. So we're going to talk business, but I also wanted her to share something that was a little bit different. And the fact that she has 4 children and we talk about on Voxer, what are the systems and processes that you have at home that are supporting your business? Because as parents, dad or mom, but as parents, we have particular responsibilities that are not as black and white as a business owner, like doors open, I'm no longer the mom, I'm no longer the dad, and vice versa. So I really wanted you to share some insight and experience into how you're navigating both worlds so well.
So I think the first thing is that, you know, it's definitely navigating and integrating both worlds. I also think that for me, one of the things that I'm very conscious of, and this is in journaling and in scripting, is that I'm never looking for perfection. I think that the more I remove myself from that and the more I tell myself I need to be better than I was yesterday, and that's the goal. And I think more than anything is just really learning to enjoy the process of becoming a better parent, the process of becoming a better wife, the process of becoming a better business owner. Because for someone like myself who's so results oriented, so like, you know, driven as far as like getting this done and that done and projects and tasks, and we're very focused on the end game, which is super important because it does help. The bottom line is we get paid for the results that we deliver in the marketplace. But I also think that when you're raising a young family, if you're only focused on the results, your kids don't need that. Like, they need you to be enjoying that moment with them and enjoying the process of dealing with the tantrum and learning how to get more skilled at dealing with the tantrum and learning how to get more skilled with your 8-year-old who's got a great sassy comment for everything that comes out of your mouth kind of thing. So it's learning to enjoy the process of getting better every time you have these interactions with your kids. So I just want to preface by saying that.
Yeah.
And then I guess let's get started with just, you know, how the day really unfolds itself. So, you know, my husband leaves the house at 6:45 in the morning. And then I have, you know, all 4 kids are up by then, usually even before. And then we have 8:30 in the morning is when all the buses come. So I actually have my 3 older kids are in 3 different schools right now. We have 3 different buses pulling up in the morning. The morning routines are about teaching my kids how to work with stress, with time management, with pressure of, you know, making the bus, with navigating, sharing a closet and a bedroom and a bathroom with 4 other people, and not about, okay, there's 90 minutes until they're in school. Let's just get through the morning so that I get everyone out of the house in the morning. And I think that is such an important shift to make as a parent, no matter how many kids you have in your house. Like, just shifting that perspective of your morning is not about getting your kid out of the house. Your morning is about your child's looking at the choices that you're making. Your child's looking at how you're choosing to structure your morning and how you choose to spend time with them with the first couple minutes of their day. That seeds the entire day. The risks that they take in school that day, if they raise their hand or not, if they ask the kid if they can join the team, if they say, you know, can I sit next to you at lunch? Like, the way that you interact with them in the morning seeds everything. So just switch that with yourself and stop thinking so much like, oh, I just got to get them out of the house, you know? So that's been a very powerful switch for me.
I'm like in silence, but I should say something here. I am at a loss for words. But my aha just listening to that is, as two women that are super focused on accomplishing, right? Like doing
that's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. Like checking off the thing and checking the boxes and doing that, that you just reframed your morning as your biggest accomplishment in the morning, which is pouring into your children. And the results are, how are they being friends with their friends at school? And are they being courteous? And are they in a good mood? And how are they being with their siblings? Like, that is super, super valuable.
And it really does have an impact on them. Like, 2 weeks ago, I was sick. And I was so sick, I ended up getting like a small case of vertigo that morning, and I could not get out of bed. And it was so bad that I had to text my husband to come home from work. I'm like, this house is going to go up in flames. I cannot get out of my bed right now. And anyways, he dropped everything and he ran home because I have a little baby at home. Like, I can't just stay in my bed. So anyways, he came home, but before he came home, my older son had to go on the bus. And I usually walk my son down the steps and like kind of just wave. And I didn't do that morning. And when he came into my room to give me a hug goodbye for the day, he was crying. He's like, it's not fair. I want you to walk me there, or whatever it was. And again, like, he came home that day and there was a lot of things that sucked that day for him. And again, I know a lot of it had to do with that morning. Now, was that in my control? Absolutely not. I made sure to make up for that when he came home and make sure that I was able to give him some of that time because I was feeling better. But I think that we are really hard on ourselves as parents and people that are accomplished and results driven, all of that. Like, the morning is almost never going to go exactly how you planned it, but just remembering that your kids are going to give you more and more chances to show up better. Like, it's like, oh, I should have said that. Don't worry. In 3 minutes, they're going to have another tantrum. You could show up the way you want to in 3 minutes from now. So just, that's where you have to learn to enjoy the process. Like, that's where it comes up. They'll give you chances to respond the way you should.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love that.
Yeah.
I do feel like I'm always asking for restarts, like whether verbally or in my head. Even with my son, I'm like, yeah, that's not exactly how I wanted that to go, or I didn't want to say it that way. Or so, restarts. It's the process, not perfection.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So you get the kids out of the house and buses are at 8:00.
Yeah. So 8:30, all the kids are out. And then so what we have is twice a week, I have a team huddle, and I need to have it at 8:30 in the morning because my team is 7 hours ahead. So it's basically close to the end of the day for them. So twice a week at 8:30, I right away jump into work for a 20-minute huddle with my team, which is really just some quick questions and just level the playing field, make sure that we're all still working on the right projects at the right time. But as far as like taking clients and doing client calls or, doing product creation or just the different themes that I have throughout the week, I don't usually start that till 9:30. And I give myself a solid hour to eat, and I have prayer and just time to read and just time for myself before I actually jump into the business.
Okay. I didn't even know that about you. Okay.
Yeah.
So you get a solid hour because that's the only time your house is quiet, right?
That is the only time my house is quiet. A lot of people are like, oh, I wake up before my kids. My kids wake up at 5:45 in the morning. I'm not waking up before my kids.
Right.
That's my time. Yeah.
So what has it taken for you to know that that's what you needed and that was a non-negotiable? Because we talk really real all the time, like legit. Mm-hmm. There's fires, there's stuff going out. You're in the middle of enrollment or a launch. And it's so tempting to give that up. But I assume that if you have in the past, you've paid the consequence. Like your whole day, you didn't set yourself up, right? Like kind of like the day your son had a bad morning. I could imagine that if you ever give way to that hour, you're not setting yourself up.
Well, this is, again, this is pretty fresh, but last month, I gave way to that way more often than I should have because we were in the midst of just a busy season and I was just trying to jam as many calls as I could at a time. And I gave a lot of those days up. Usually I go swimming on Wednesday mornings. I gave that up for 5 weeks straight. And the results was me being a very overwhelmed, stressed out, almost on the verge of depression entrepreneur reaching out to you and like, help, I'm in the pits. And I realized that it was from not taking care of myself. So, yeah.
So, okay, this is just taking a different direction and we can edit this if you want to.
Yeah.
But I remember you reaching out to me and I was like, I'm supposed to be giving her words of advice here or wisdom. And the only thing that came to me was, I think she's just not doing the basics of taking care of herself. Like, hey, honey, go for a walk. Have you taken a walk? Like, I remember thinking, this isn't profound advice or pep talking, but at the moment, that's what I felt you needed. And in hindsight, I guess that's what it was. Like you had literally kind of...
I didn't walk out of the house for a week. There was 1 week I did not leave the house all week till Friday.
Right. And so today we're talking about when the routines are stable and you've got these good habits, it has such a huge impact, and no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. My morning routine does not look the same all the time either, but I always feel that. And so I think it's a matter of how fast do you get back up and back on track and realize, oh, well, that decision didn't serve me very well. So let's get back on track. So
that's where a tribe comes in. I mean, you got to have people that you can lean on. And that when you reach out to them, they'll hear in your voice where you're struggling. And that's been huge.
So when we're struggling, it's often tempting to let the routines go out the window. Yeah. And I've said this before, but it's often those times that you have to hold on to those routines like a life-saving raft, like in the storm and the time that things feel so hard. If and when we can hold on to these routines that we know serve us well, the good habits, it will make it through. Like it will help us make it through at the time.
I agree.
So let's go back to your normal routine. So outside of this little pocket of time, so now you're taking an hour to yourself and now you dive into your day.
Yep.
And you are working 25 hours a week. So you must be extremely disciplined with what it is that you're doing with that 25 hours.
Yes. So the way that we really structure things is Saturday nights, Mayor and I sit down, we map out our personal week. So, when are we doing dates with the kids? When are we going out? Just the two of us, and we also have theme days in our house. Wednesdays are like little household maintenance chores and stuff like that. Change the light bulb, fix the window shade, whatever it is. And so we have specific days that different projects or tasks fall into those pockets, essentially.
Hold on. You theme and time block your personal life?
So we theme and time block important things in our personal life. So, for example, Wednesday afternoons is when there's anything that needs to be done household maintenance wise. So there's something that needs to be scrubbed off. There's a loose screw. The toilet seat needs to be hardened. I don't know, whatever it is. That all happens on Wednesdays. Now, if I need a light bulb that minute because the light bulb's out in the bathroom, we'll change it that minute. But more often than not, it's usually things that don't need to be done right then. So they end up getting pushed off until it's like, okay, I can't see in the bedroom kind of thing.
Got it.
So that happens on Wednesdays. The only other things we time block is dates. So once a week, I take one of the kids out on a date, and once a week, Mayor takes one of the kids out. And then once a week, we go out on Fridays.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is really life by design. Like you've backed that into your relationship goals, right?
Yes.
And having one-on-one time with your kids and, your marriage that was there before you had 4 kids, right? And so having alone time with him.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So that is 100% the first thing that gets done, because then on Sundays is when I look into the business. I'm like, okay, what do I have themed? What appointments do I already have? What do I have themed? What needs to get done? And then that gets put in after I already have designed my week for my family. This is the thing also. It's like, what are your values? Like if family is truly a core value, then that has to get on the calendar before any business meeting. Most people say family is my core value, but it doesn't get on their calendar until one of their kids get a call from school. Hey, your son's failing. Oh my gosh, I got to take my kid out. No. That is not the time to take your kid out. That's when the fire is burning. So if family is a core value, it gets on your calendar.
Okay. So you plan your week on Sunday. This is always like one of those questions everybody wants to know. Is it Sunday? Is it Friday? Is it Monday? So for you have found that Sundays is your best day to plan that out.
Yep.
Do you work on Sundays?
So Sundays, what happens is actually, so my husband works on Sundays and then my son goes to school on Sunday, but I got my 2 little girls at home and my baby. And so when he takes a nap, for about 2.5 hours, I take about 40 minutes where my kids like to have some video time. They get 40 minutes of that while I finish mapping out my week. So that's kind of what happens on Sunday. Yep.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So now let's talk about Monday is your official start to the week, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now we talked about how you get your kids out of school, and I'm assuming you end your day when your kids are coming home. Is that right?
No, I actually ended earlier. My first child comes home at 3:30. So usually I end my day at around like 2:45-ish is when I like to kind of check out. Now, it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes I'm going over, but usually at 2:45 because I like to take a solid 30 to 40 minutes for myself to recap on the day, close up any loose ends, and then just sit on the couch and just zone out before I have to turn on mom brain.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now, I hope that everyone's listening. You have a lot of self-care in here. And
Yes.
I think that it's tempting when you're running this large, successful business and a mom of four that self-care would be almost the first thing that comes out. And yet you bookend your much shorter day than most entrepreneurs with alone time, prayer time, and then alone veg out time, so that it sounds like to transition so you could be your best in your business and best as your mom and a wife, which are your best roles, right?
Yep. Exactly that. Like the days that I go until 3:30 straight, like till my daughter gets off the bus, is the days that I am less patient, less understanding. My head's hurting me. I'm telling them to stop talking every 5 seconds. I see it. I see it in the way I show up. That's the bottom line. Like from 3:30 till 8 o'clock, I need to be emotionally available and listening to 4 little kids.
Yeah.
So I need to prep for that.
Okay, so you have a background in early childhood
Yes.
education. And so how does that show up in processes or systems in home to manage a household of 4? 5,
Yes.
6. There's 6 of you, but 4 children.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So we have robust systems, but I think one of the things also, a lot of times people ask me, like, how do you do it all? I don't do it all. I have full-time house manager, like cleaning help. So we have that all themed and blocked also. Like we have Mondays and Thursdays our laundry. Then we have certain days that we take care of like, linen and cleaning bedrooms, and like everything has a system as far as maintenance of the house. So when there's grocery shopping, pantry shopping, just everything has a system and a theme day and a time block of when things get done, monthly tasks, weekly tasks, daily tasks, as far as maintaining the household. So I built out that whole system, and then someone else executes on the system, right? You don't have to be the executor of the system. You're the designer of the business or of your family life. So that's the first thing. I don't do any of that. The only thing I do for the house is cook dinner. So think of every other responsibility in the household is delegated to someone else. So
And how long have you had that person?
7 years.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. So that's one area. The other thing is in the morning, every kid knows what their routine is. So, getting up, washing their face, brushing teeth, eating breakfast, getting dressed. Then they each get time with me in the morning to read a book or to, hang out or play a game or whatever it is. So they all know their routine. We have a whole system of like who gets dressed in the bedroom, who gets dressed in the bathroom, like, because they all share a room, but they can't all get dressed at the same time in their bedroom. So everything just works like a well-oiled machine in the morning, making sure that no one's bumping into each other and that everyone's got their personal space, but that we're all working together as well. And being the chief operating officer of that kind of operation requires a ton of mental stamina. And the only way to really have that is, for me, is I know that this is important for these 90 minutes, but I will be getting my hour for myself right after this. So even though I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a splitting headache, I just need to sit down. It's like, okay, in 30 minutes, it's going to be my time. Let me make sure I'm focusing on the kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would like to talk about, how did you decide you were going to build your team when your business was so young? Like, the idea that most entrepreneurs are grinding it out early on for longer than they should. What helped you make that decision that you were going to outsource earlier on to keep your hours lower while still growing exponentially, 6xing within a couple years, your revenue in your business?
I think for me, like, I know what I'm really awesome at, and I'm really bad at everything else. Like, I'm a great speaker. I'm great on stage. I'm great on camera. I'm great at content production. Everything else, I just suck at. Like, I'm just really can't do it. And I think that understanding that the more I live in my zone of genius and building relationships and private messaging people and getting on the phone, like, if I live in that place and I outsource everything else, even though it's costing me money to outsource, I'm going to make money because I am truly living in my zone. I'm getting on the phone. I'm doing the parts that are driving the business forward full steam ahead, to use your analogy. So I think the main reason was from like, I can't do the stuff that they're doing. It'll take so many hours.
So did you reinvest profits early on just in building out your team and reinvesting
100%. Yeah. And so, now we're at a place where, our business is almost scale up in that we're able to spend, a certain percentage on, team members and still, also for myself, take a profit as the owner as well. But I think really me getting so clear on what am I amazing at and then what are the outcome goals, right? So the outcome goal is my house is that my kids need to open their drawer and have clean underwear and socks. I don't have to do that, but it has to get done. So how am I creating a system so that happens without me having to do that? So, I think even as an entrepreneur, it's asking yourself those questions. Like, I don't think, and this is, I'm talking to myself as well, like asking ourselves, what are the outcome goals of the business? Is the outcome, like, usually we're tasking our people, but it's really about the outcome goal is this. How you get there is completely your business, but the outcome goal is this. And here's my part in the outcome goal. And I do that for everything, the outcome goal in the house, the outcome goal, just whatever it is. And then how are we going to get there?
So that's how you speak to your team is in outcome goals.
Yes. So the outcome goal is X amount of leads for this quarter. How are we getting there?
And then they come and give you the plan or they update you on their strategy and and then do you have like a right to veto it? Like if they say something?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
so a lot of times they'll say things that will drain too much of company resources. Great. So this is a pileup zone. This is, this is maybe the third quarter, or this is after we cross this revenue mark, we'll do that or whatever it is. Usually they're pretty on point. But absolutely come up with ideas that are really great, shiny objects. But I also know my own internal compass and that I have to make sure it's like, no, that is not part of our business model. So that's another thing also is like, what is your business model? And a lot of times the team members aren't necessarily like aligned that isn't part of your business model. And that's where an owner comes in and says, okay, that is a completely different business model. And our business models to do X, Y, and Z. So that is going to be shelved.
Oh my gosh.
For all eternity. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to keep asking questions that are intriguing me, thinking that the audience, the listeners are so intrigued. This is going in so many different directions. So I think there's a running theme in this episode. It's not, we're calling this the entrepreneurial case study, like behind the scenes of what it's like to really build a multi-six-figure business, 25 hours, 4 kids, community responsibilities. Like this is like the real story. So, okay.
Real
so
life
as long as you're comfortable and if you're not, you can,
I'm good.
This out.
I'm good.
Okay. So you are building your team. Did you have like bad hires where you're like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing here? And what was that experience like? Because I'm just taking a step back here. And I'm thinking if I was a listener, it's like, wow, well, that's cool. She hired out for all the things she's not good at. But that can be such an intimidating process. And so what advice would you give us? And what did you learn from a bad hire?
Yeah. So a couple things. First of all, part of what I do in the business is I help school leaders hire the right teachers for their schools that are in alignment with the school's mission and values. So I translate a lot of that skill set into hiring for our company. But I think the first step in hiring is actually real self-awareness of not only what are you amazing at in the business, but what do you really love doing? And I think more than anything is, I think it's a couple things. I think it's the self-awareness piece of like, okay, I'm an awesome speaker. I am great on camera. I am great at audio. When I'm taking a walk with my baby and I'm just wheeling him down the street or walking him to the park and I get a burst of inspiration and I'll quickly Voxer it to my team. Like that's me, right?
Yeah.
Great. So then my team should be, I want to hire people. So then great. So this is my zone of genius. Well, great. So if that's my zone of genius and I want people to hear what I said in the Voxer, I want people to hear what I just did a Facebook Live about. Well, how am I going to get that out there? That's not my skill set. My skill set is to teach whatever it is or give clarity or whatever it is. Great. So now I need to hire people that understand how to do that and also understand the strategy that comes along with dispersing content over multiple platforms or whatever the strategy is. I don't want to get too nitty gritty in the strategy, but so that's what I'm looking for, right? I'm also very keenly aware of my weaknesses. So I know that I'm a control freak and I could start micromanaging. I let my team members know that in the onboarding process. Like, part of your job is to actually tell me bugger off when I start micromanaging you.
Yes.
And you need to tell me that, right? So even this just happened this morning. This project was taking a lot longer and it's going to cost a lot more money. And so I was slacking. I was messaging my team on Slack and I was like, it's taking too long or whatever it is. And I was like saying something and my team was like, take a deep breath. It's taking good. Back off. We're good. We got this. It's good. Don't worry. We know the budget. We're not going to go over that. The minute we start getting close to that, we'll let you know. Thank you. Deep breath. But that is part of the culture in the organization also. Like everyone knowing that this is a weakness of mine, but here's my strengths, right?
Yeah.
So, and then are we all playing, to each other in that way? Now, there's tons of hangups. There's lots of mess ups going around or whatever it is in the overlap. But all in all, I think the more awareness that we have as human beings of how we show up and where our weaknesses are, the better we're going to be able just to deliver value to our customers, our clients, just in the marketplace.
I agree. I'm thinking of hires for me and things that worked or didn't work. And I feel like every hire has taught me something else about myself I didn't know.
For sure. So we've had, 2 bad hires, and I think it was more about me not having clarity of the standards in the business, not having clarity of the vision of the business, not having clarity of what I really wanted of myself, what business model I was in. So I think the more clear you get, the easier it's going to become to attract really great talent.
I agree. Yeah. I think that for me, it was also, I do things a certain way and sometimes I take that way for granted and then I don't articulate that, or someone's doing it a different way and you're like, I didn't know I had a problem with a different way, but hold on. This is
apparently I do. Yeah. Right?
Why doesn't everybody do it my way?
Yeah. And sometimes I'll be like, I thought I was more adaptable than that. I'm like, no, I'm really not okay with that.
Right.
So, yeah.
So for every hire that I've had, it makes me much more appreciative of my husband.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
Right. I'm like, I found that guy that doesn't really annoy me that bad. Or like, we obviously figured out life together and he appreciates all of my little oddness. And when you're a small business owner, I feel like each employee pulls these different things out or maybe just shines a spotlight on things you're like, oh, well, next time I hire, I'm going to make sure that question's in the interview. Or something like that.
So hard.
Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah. All right. So we talked about hiring early, hiring and building a team of culture based on your unique zone of genius, being ruthless with your schedule and block schedules and theming. And I feel like if I didn't ask this, I feel like this is the thing that just totally made me crush on you, like as a person, is your tenacity and your drive. You have a fierce drive and focus about you. And what would you attribute that to, if you could? Or do you feel like it's just you? Was this something you grew into, honey?
I have always had a very competitive, fierce drive inside of me. So I've always competed in any competition that there was in school, no matter what it was. I had to compete and I had to win. So I've always had that, I've always played in like big major roles in like, the school play, or I was on the student council. I was in charge of what was happening in high school or production or in charge of big events. I've always played a very like a big leadership role from when I was a little kid. But I think in becoming a parent and, with every child, and then also being a business owner, I think I become more aware of like where I really need to be living. And then also what are the shadows of the strength of being so driven, and what the shadow meaning what's the other side of what it means to be so driven, have such a force, always be on fire. And then understanding that when you're always on fire, you could get burned out very quickly. And when you have such a fierce drive, it's very easy to be, throw yourself in the pits. When you have such ambition, you could be very hard on yourself. So the more I'm aware of those things, the journey of becoming more aware of it has helped me surround myself with better friends, with better mentors, creating better disciplines for myself so that I can truly live in the other side and not let the shadows haunt me, but actually leverage those weaknesses for the bigger impact of what I'm really trying to create.
Oh
I don't know
my
if that
gosh.
answered your question, but I think that's my feeling in the moment right now. That was
That was so good because, you can replace your strength for someone else's. Everyone else has a different strength, and there's always a flip side to that. And it sounds like you have leaned into it, and you know the good and the bad with it, and you've surrounded yourself. And so there's a couple things that you said that lead into exactly how I want to close out this conversation. Is you were talking about finding mentors and peers and your tribe and support and stuff. And so can we just talk about that and how important that has been for the growth of your business and you personally? First of all, obviously in the intro, everyone knows like you have been a key person in my life in the last 7 months. And it was one of those surprise relationships that, you weren't looking for. I think I was definitely open to it. But how important is that? Because I remember, just to be completely transparent, is like years ago, I grinded it out in my business. I was the girl that could do it alone and I would figure it out. And there's no time for all that chit chat, which this is what I perceived it to be. Now I feel like, how did I ever survive without?
I know. Oh my God, I feel exactly the same way. How did I ever survive without surrounding myself with people? I do feel like, when people ask what has been, the biggest catalyst for your growth, for your success, is 100% mentors. I'm always looking for who is 10 steps ahead of me, who is way smarter than me in this area, who has built something powerful that I'm looking to create as well, who has been through this path, this dirt road, who has the scarred knees, who has this. And who am I ready to be coached by? Because again, like there's a relationship when you're, going into a mentor role, and that there's trust, there's understanding, there's like, okay, when someone's going to tell you something, you're going to actually go take action on it. But I think one of my biggest assets, and I've always had this, is I'm always looking for a mentor. And in all areas of my life, I have a mentor for someone who I go to when I have questions about parenting or relationships, in marriage or whatever it is. I have business mentor. I have people that I turn to because no one has all the answers. And you're looking for that even 1% to be better, or 10% or whatever it is. Seek out the best. And sometimes that means you're going to open your wallet and you're going to pay for the best. And sometimes it means surrounding yourself with a community of people who, it's not about being better than you, but it's being about they're on the same journey as you. So they're going to hold you accountable and not let you fall off that bandwagon. So I think tribe of people and mentors really go hand in hand. Yeah. And that has been game changer for me. There is no way I would have been where I am today without mentors and my community of people.
Yeah, I would say that you did create that mentorship and that tribe, and it has leapfrogged your success. Whereas I did it on my own early on. And for some reason, call it the shadow side of my personality of stubborn and just thought that showed strength. And boy, have I been proven wrong. And I would love for everyone listening to hear that if you are doing it alone, or you feel like you're doing it alone, a mentor, a coach, a group, a friend, like your and I's relationship is completely informal, right? Yeah. We stepped outside of how we got introduced and we created something because it fueled us personally and professionally. And so I would just say, look for those opportunities, because I wasn't looking for it when I found us chatting and doing what we do, and just be open to how that could possibly give you that support you need to grow your business, be more productive, stay disciplined, stay accountable to someone else.
I think the other thing I want to leave with also is that, and I hear this a lot, is you can find all the information for free. It's not necessarily you have to pay for the information or pay for the strategy. You could Google anything now. I think it's about being around the smart people that are going to help you get more clarity also in what you're really trying to achieve and where you're going. I think the other thing, just if it's like a practical advice, is like, ask yourself, you have to connect with the person. Like I always say, I can't believe we don't even know each other for a year, because there was just instant connection. And this doesn't happen all the time. So when you're looking for a relationship, either with a community or with a mentor, is what is it about the mentor that, and you're going to take a risk on any relationship, but is there something about this mentor you feel like, yes, I can learn from this person, or yes, there's something I respect about this person, or is there something that I know that I can learn, or whatever it is, because you can't trust everyone. And you have to ask yourself those questions so that when you're going to make the investment of even just time, forget about money, that you're making it in the right person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did an entire episode about how I chose my business coach, which happens to be our business coach.
Yeah.
And I had shared my process of how, I don't know, serious that I take that, right? Like
I also do.
And yeah, so you do and I do. And anyone that hires me, I tell them, like, I'm not the only one you're talking to. Am I? And if I am, here's some questions to go ask somebody else. Like this is a decision, because if it's not a decision, then it's not a partnership, which I think is something that you should have. If you're paying a mentor or a coach, like they're invested in you, you're invested in them, in a mutual outcome if you're paying them, right? And it's just it's an investment that shouldn't be taken lightly, I guess is what I'm saying, because you need to trust that in times of you questioning yourself or questioning the way forward, that you have someone to go to that you trust will guide you down the best path for you.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well said, honey. Well, geez, I'm glad I didn't title the name of this episode before we hit record. This is such a treat. Thank you so much for investing your time with us today and just chatting. I just feel like this was such a frank conversation about like, what does it take to be a wife and a mom and a business owner and get results in all the areas and do our best through this process. Thank you so much, Chanie. And we will link out to the show notes. So for those of you that did not hear, you'll hear all about her. Obviously, you heard about her in the intro. But I would love for you just to close out, because we usually open it this way. Can you tell us about your business a little bit? Like, we totally missed that part. I mean, other than your official bio that you send over, but tell us just a little bit before we close out.
Yeah, sure. So I help school leaders all around the world build schools of excellence. And we do that by helping them with their leadership, their skill development, understanding how to create a culture, how to create the right environment, and really giving them the tools and the scripts and the roadmap they need to create excellence within themselves and their schools.
Yeah. So if you know anyone that is a early childhood director or owns a preschool or anything like that, Chanie is your go-to person to be running a school of excellence. And so make sure you share her information with everyone. Thank you, Chanie, and have a great day.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye, everyone.
Well, what did you think of my conversation with Chanie? Boy, did it take some twists and turns. And I thought that that was actually the very best, is that we were having some very real conversations, and you guys got a glimpse into the types of things that we talk about as similar entrepreneurs going through similar struggles. And my guess is that you're not much different, that maybe your struggles are a little different, but we all have the struggles of business and life and balance and mindset and really all of the things that we talked about in this episode. And I just love bringing these conversations to the surface so that we don't feel alone. I can honestly tell you that if you looked at my earlier years of being an entrepreneur, I didn't know that I wasn't alone. I didn't know I wasn't alone in my thoughts or my challenges or aspirations, and finding someone or finding people out there that are on a similar journey. And if I could invite you to do one thing, it is truly to connect and to plug into a community of like-minded people, wherever you may find that, so that you can find the support that you're looking for. I have absolutely loved having you listen to this episode of Productivity Straight Talk, and it was my pleasure to bring this conversation to you. I need to be straight with you. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So based on what you learned, what will you take action on? What was an aha or an insight that you could implement? Maybe it's as simple as seeing something different, a little tweak in your perception of something that you were challenged with currently. I really, really hope that pulling back the curtains and letting you listen in on my conversation with Chanie had some very impactful moments. And I know for me, it was impactful, and I get to talk to her nearly every single day. I would love for you to share your actionables and receive support, guidance, and motivation from entrepreneurs just like you. I would love for you to plug into a community to find people that are on a similar journey with similar challenges. You can join for free by going to productivitycommunity.com. I'll send you a link and you will be in our private Facebook community. Thank you so much for sharing each episode, or any episode for that matter, of Productivity Straight Talk. I really hope that when you listen to an episode and it's impactful for you, that you are sharing it out to a dear friend or an entrepreneur that's on a similar journey, or perhaps you post it on your social media. I really have a passion for growing Productivity Straight Talk. And it's not just for the sake of growing it, but growing the impact that it can have. And I want to thank you for partnering with me on this journey and sharing Productivity Straight Talk. So that's my straight talk for you today. And until next time, have a productive week.